So this is great. We just we've kind of really gone over and did the deep drill down in terms of whether or not this is a hot deal or not. We saw that from the background. The owners wanted $5 million for this deal. So the question becomes, how much is the cash flow? When we looked at the cash flow from the last year, they were looking at $361,000, which is upward scale from 2014. It looks like they've been functioning at the hockey stick type of growth, which is great. So at this point, we're actually looking at the red flags that can be occurring within the deal, which may, put a stumble on us.
Okay, well, that industry is hot.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hardly find an acquisition candidate that's not hot. Whereas in the industries that most of you other guys are involved in, you have to find something that's hot and maybe look at 25 deals. Mm-hmm. This 24 to 25 are hot. Mm-hmm. So I often ask myself, not really, I don't, why in the fuck, how come aren't more of the fucking moron kids in this? There's a reason. And it's not just because you're all thick. That's part of it, okay? But how hot can you get over bulletproof coffee, for example? Because bulletproof is in that arena. How hot can you get over no salt, no sugar, how hot? Well, not many people can get that hot, And so a lot of people just discount it. The other reason that it's discounted is they're small deals. Mm-hmm. They're virtually, not all, but almost all small deals. $500,000 to $10 million to be a big deal. Yeah. And the $10 million would be on the end of the time continuum, maybe 15 years.
What do you mean 15 years?
They've been involved in the business. It's taken them 15 years to fucking do that. In this particular case, it's only 3 or 4 years, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But the part and parcel of this is why haven't private equity gobbled these up? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, there's a reason. Why haven't Kraft Food, those kind of guys, gobbled them up? There's a reason. Okay. Why haven't, because this is basically a hippie, weed smoking
millennials.
No. These guys that own these businesses are my age to 50. They're the hippie weed smokers from the 70s that have lived in fucking tents up in the Colorado mountains. And then one of the guys is I forget and they've taken a business that they used to sell to the country store, the country store, for 20 years, and then all of a sudden now everybody wants it at what's a couple of the food markets? Whole Foods, exactly. Now all of a sudden it's hot, so they don't know anything about distribution, they don't know anything about electronic marketing, they don't know any of those things. And more importantly, in my judgment, they don't want to sell to a suit. In other words, a corporate guy from Kraft. They want to sell it to some dopehead, fucking hippie moron like them. And that's an exaggeration, but the most of those deals don't go through unless it's and it could be a millennial, or it could be somebody older. Unfortunately, the millennials don't know how to take it to the next level. The older folks from Kraft know how to take it to the next level, but they're a suit. They just look at the numbers. They're not interested in anything else. And that's why, my judgment, Dave Asprey's doing so well, because he's kind of in between. I'm not saying he's a dopehead from the 70s, because he's not old enough. But, he can relate. He's soft-spoken. He doesn't want to, they don't want to, they certainly don't want to sell it to some Gordon Gekko from Wall Street. But, this is not an anomaly in that industry. It's a great deal, and but is it worth when you got what I just told you aren't red flags? Those are just existing circumstances, but they're not interested in the market. They're not interested in the multiples that the other companies, the big companies are selling at. All they know is this is the original pride of authorship deal killer, these companies, because they can't turn loose of them. They want to know when Jay takes it over, he's going to run it smoking weed with a ponytail. A great many of them. And there's no kids to pass it on to.
No.
So, but it's a great industry. It's a great niche market. How many of them do you have to roll up to make it worthwhile? There are private equity firms that are specializing just in this. But to the best of my knowledge, none of them have reached the size of Whole Foods, for example. And the margins are good. The margins are good, and much better. But I mean, can you roll this up to $1 billion? Yeah, but I mean, if structure follows strategy, every one of these has their own structure and strategy.
Yeah.
To reach the market, and not, some of them are more successful than others. But I'll be, interested to see what you come away with, and then I'll tell you what happened to it. That would be anticlimactic for me to tell you what happened.
No, so that's really interesting what you said. Every single one of these will have its own structure and strategy. As you do the roll-up, how do you take each one of them? How do you take each strategy and make it all work for...
With great difficulty. You don't. But you tell... Well, you don't want to be disingenuous, but you tell everybody you'll take their strategy into consideration. Okay? Mm-hmm. But you'll if you've done this like I have, down deep inside that you can't take everybody's strategy in finite. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just not going to work. Mm-hmm. And so what you need is you need a dream team that has enough people on it, both from the suit side and from the hippie weed side, that can make it palatable. Because virtually all of them don't want you to fire any employees. Some write it into the sales agreement, or want it written into the sales agreement, and you can't do a deal like that. Mm-hmm. That dog just doesn't hunt. And there's all kinds of different reasons why these things got started. Some of them, I wanted an ice cream that didn't have this, and had this. I couldn't find it, so I made it myself. Then I started selling it to at the county fairs. And then I got it into Trader Joe's. Yeah. And then, and all this takes time. So there's no overnight successes in these. This is about as close to an overnight success as you're going to see, and it's 4 or 5 years into it. And how big can market penetration be? How many are going to buy off on this? Now, according to current marketing, Kraft and all the big food companies are going more and more towards this because people are more interested in healthy food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, how long will that last?
Yeah.
I don't know. But you're in and you want to roll up 4, 5, or 6 of them and exit. So you want it to last at least 5, 6, 7 years, because that's normally what the roll-up is, to create some real wealth and some real equity. And, it's already lasted, 10 or 15 years?
Yeah.
So, the healthy food, healthy living, I think, is only going to get more healthy.
Yeah.
At some juncture, it's going to top out. I don't know when that is. I have no idea. I don't think anybody else does either. But I do know that there is a shit ton of them out there on the market. But it's probably, when we were looking at this industry, there's probably 1,000, maybe an exaggeration, companies like this have $1 million or less revenue.
In the whole of the U.S.?
No, I know. Just the ones we saw. No, it's probably 10,000 in the whole U.S.
Yeah.
So how do you roll up 50 companies with less than $1 million revenue and keep their corporate strategy? You don't. Can't. Impossible. Okay? And they're normally run by the founders. And they don't have any other employees. The guy that does the packaging is the guy that built the website. The guy, and they're doing farming out the building of the website to Belarus or the Philippines or India. They don't have anybody within the company that really understands internet marketing. And so, I mean, there's a whole bucket of worms. But the bottom line is some of the products are really good, and some of the products really work. And there are some products that are really good vis-a-vis sales that don't work. But they have a following because, for whatever reason, as I sit, I know Dave Asbury. Some of the stuff he has, I personally use, but I'm a guy that takes 150 pills a day, so I'm not the right candidate to say if his stuff works or not, because when he looked at my vitamin list or my pill list, he says, "God, you take all the good shit." Not all the good shit, most of the good shit. So but it's a hot market. Now, getting companies like this at 3 to 5 or 6, I won't say it's impossible, but it's close to impossible because they see the ones that have hit the public arena are going out at the public arena at 25 times. Wow. So, I mean, the margins on these kind of companies, you're going to be spending between 8 and 15 times. But if you get them to take back the paper and do all the things, you can bring it down to some reasonable price or reasonable cost to the investors.
I guess the point you're making, if they're going at 25 times multiples, are these platforms or individual, just one facility, one owner, etc.?
No, the ones that are platforms.
Okay, and then
but when they go with your check, when the business broker comes by them, and they use the platform as an example to the little dipshit that's got $650,000 in revenue, all he sees is a 25.
That's why you want the retention mechanism,
correct,
or relative equity,
correct.
But you kind of need them. I guess the other point you made is the fact that these guys are the business. Yeah,
you're right, and you don't absorb that 5 or 10 or 20 years of experience overnight. You will, it'll take time, and you really need to have somebody on the sales team that understands the market, and is part of that genre, so to speak. And there are people out there. I mean, are they straight out of the B school from Harvard? I doubt it. Are they a guy that dropped out of high school who's been growing his own weed in the Colorado mountains with a ponytail? Yeah. Who's now 45 years old? Yeah. I mean, Weed Man in our group, he's probably encountered people. And I had once made a suggestion that these would be a classic example for investors for his deal. Because they're already of that mentality.
In terms of integration strategy, do you see success in theoretically combining the back offices, accounting procedures, and everything? And
yeah, but I mean, most of them don't have. They're using QuickBooks. Yeah. I mean, most of them don't have any systems, procedures, or any that kind of stuff.
But that's your argument with finances. You can then implement those kind of efficiencies. We want to centralize.
You can, but for a company that's only doing $600,000 a year, how much are you going to save them? Mm-hmm. Actually, what you're probably going to do is increase their expenses. You're going to have to have software. You're going to have to bring in guys that write systems and all that shit. Mm-hmm. You're going to increase your expenses, not decrease.
That's why you don't put anything on paper.
Yeah, but that's not part of your sales pitch.